All right, boys, on that note, we will kick things off. Welcome, one and all, to this week's edition of the Chroma Team Roundtable. I'm joined today by none other than the handsome, intelligent Chads, Victor and Luke. We will also hopefully be joined by Purdue and Osber later, which is good because we have to talk about a lot of complicated macro things that only really Osber understands, and of course, talk about a few altcoin-specific issues that only really Purdue comprehends. So, yeah, looking forward to getting those guys in. But for now, you are stuck with me, Victor, and Luke. So I want to go to Victor first. Victor, we're talking about Bitcoin. Obviously, we had a little bit of a rally to open the week. I know a lot of people were saying that because of escalating tensions over the weekend, that the ass was going to fall out of risk markets. Monday open came and that didn't happen at all. In fact, we rallied like 5 or 6% off the lows, which confused me. I'm not ashamed to admit. And now we're seeing that price is coming back down towards kind of range low, channel low as Trump's deadline approaches. What do you make of this Bitcoin price action?
Yeah, it's extremely difficult to comprehend. And just like you said, when we had the escalation threats from Trump, and I think you said it, probably the most unhinged post of his as of yet. Like, I totally expected the market to respond in a bad manner to nuke. But as you mentioned, we had a huge pump to open the week. Not necessarily to open the week on Bitcoin, because this is the week. Wait, why am I on UTC plus one? Okay, this has been the weekly open on Bitcoin. So technically, the current week is bearish on Bitcoin. But the week for indices opened, like it had this H4 candle, and that's when we pumped. Actually, to be more precise, let's switch to the H1. This has been the weekly open on the indices side, and that's when we started to pump. Of course, BTC being correlated to indices. And yeah, it was confusing for me as well why we had that pump when it looked like everything was escalating. So I'm yet not sure why that happened, but the thing that's true is that we have round tripped almost that entire pump. Um, and that seems normal to me, like because again, it had no reason to pump. It's normal that it retraces. And to be honest, I expected price to go at least to the value high of 71K. We didn't even reach that, so I can't even say that, oh, it's volume profiles working so well. But my advice for everyone is that you don't try to trade the news, because you cannot predict what the news will be. And I see multiple people trying to become geopolitical experts and trying to predict the next step from Trump, and thus making decisions for their trades based on that. Well, in fact, I think he doesn't even know what he's going to do next. So you trying to predict it is literally impossible. So my advice for everyone is just to treat this as a range. I would only get involved at value low, where we saw price finding support last week, and I would only be involved at value high, which unfortunately we failed to reach. And as long as price is in between these two levels, I wouldn't really try to trade it, because, like I said, it's really difficult with all the headlines that we get.
Yeah, couldn't agree more on that one. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. It's one of the reasons that lots of great traders, lots of really capable traders have just been getting frustrated with price action recently. I saw Phobia post something in the chat last night, which is basically like, you know, this is what you can expect for as long as Trump kind of has the reins on the global economy and the global financial markets. And yeah, you mentioned the word unpredictability, and maybe he himself not knowing what's coming next. And I think there's an element of that too. I'm also in the same camp as you. It can be frustrating at times to try and get a good read on the market, because if he says one thing, the market goes a certain way. If he says another thing, the market goes another way. But a point that was made earlier a couple of days ago by none other than Osber, which I want to explore now, is that maybe the markets are kind of becoming desensitized to Trump's tweets a little bit, and maybe there's an element of I guess kind of just pricing in the fact that he just says whatever the fuck he wants to say, right? And I think we
Yeah.
saw that over the weekend, and I would love to ask your opinion of that. now, Osbra, with the benefit of maybe 24 to 48 hours of hindsight, what does this indicate about the markets? We obviously had escalations over the weekend. Market opened, Bitcoin rallied like crazy. Oil was also rallying to open the week. And then we've seen a pullback over the last kind of 12 to 24 hours as the markets do seem to be pricing in some sort of escalation or some sort of cessation of peace talks. I'm just curious to know, what's your take on this?
Quite simple and still similar to what we discussed during the last roundtable. I think the market is quite complacent and wants to go up by default. This is why it's reacting super well to um, a potential peace agreement. We saw the pump over the weekend. Basically, that was triggered by Trump pushing the deadline once again. Also, technically, as Vic said, we got to the range low or value area low a few days ago. So the price action is just doing something quite clean, in my opinion. I think the price action is better than what it was a few weeks ago. Like we just tagged the range low slash value area low, and we went to the range high. We went slightly above the highs because if you look at the chart, I can probably share my screen if you allow me. Here we go. Just let me know if it works. As you can see here on my screen, we had the high here. We had a deviation here. Then if you extend the high here, you had a nice bearish retest right here. So it's quite clean for now. However, the reality is that um, the oil prices are extremely high, 117. It's not going down, and at some point, I still do believe that reality is going to hit this complacent market, and it's going to hurt, because we saw that every time market has been reacting to major events, it was excessive, and I think it was excessive over the weekend when Trump made people think he was extending the deadline because a peace agreement would be reached yesterday. It didn't happen. Now, like we'll see what happens tonight. It's at 8 p.m. EST that he's supposed to attack Iran if no deal is made, and most likely we're not going to have a deal according to Iranian officials, saying they froze every single diplomatic talks with the US. Still, we have contradictory headlines. We had just to make it quick. We had Trump saying he's going to erase a civilization from Earth. Then JD Vance said Iran is going to like send a deal to us, a proposition for a deal, and then Iran said we froze all the talks. So we don't really know how to navigate between these headlines. It's quite complicated, but the reality is the oil prices are skyrocketing right now. Um, Historically, when oil prices were going one way or another, it was meaningful, very meaningful. When it was going down, it meant the market would soon be bullish, and when it's going up, most of the time it means things are going to be bad. So I do believe like things are not going to be that easy for the market, and that we might just continue to go down. So I remain bearish. I understand that a lot of people think it's bullish because we have violent pump, and every time we have a violent move up, we saw back, right, according to Twitter. But the reality is we're just in a range within a high time frame downtrend. The macro is bad, geopolitics are catastrophic, and we are nowhere close to have to have like a better situation anytime soon. So I would advise anyone to be very careful. I'm not saying you should be shorting everything with 100x leverage, because as I said, market is complacent to the upside, but you don't want to be the same but on the other side. You just want to be cautious and take the facts into consideration. I'm not gonna tell them once again, because I've been ranting for like 5 minutes already, explaining why I'm cautiously bearish. So I would just say, be careful and just take the facts into consideration and what you want, and what you want to see. And I think this is the main reason people are quite bullish every time I've seen candidates, because they want the market to go, but duration is not good yet. Not good yet. So just be cautious and trade the levels with proper risk management. And if to end this rant, if you believe it's complicated, then just sit on your hands. I think we'll have an outcome situation in the coming days. We will escalate, or we will de-escalate between like JPM, EM, and
the line has been pushed 4 times. Whether or not he's 5 times he's seen. I have my doubts that any kind of deadline will be forced to be.
I think
this is
they're
just
going to push it again.
Yeah. Oh, I
Extend it again.
absolutely don't think it's like, or if it's like, if it's an escalation, like some kind of boots on the ground situation, to be very, very minor. Like it'll be like Trump will exaggerate. Like they'll blow up a power plant and they'll be like, "Yeah, see, we told you," but effectively there will have been no escalation. Or Trump will manufacture something. He will say, like, Iran reached out to me and we've made some good progress, irrespective of whether that's true or not. And then he'll say, therefore, I feel happy extending the deal by X amount of days, something like that. But in any case, I digress. It's hilarious that we're in a situation where the question of the day is how many lies is POTUS going to tell, and like to what extent can we believe anything he says? Luke, I want to get your take on that, because that's some. Oh, sorry, Osborne, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, we still well, I've been talking about this on my Twitch streams, how fascinating it is. We are having like a full out war, like a communication war, and this is why
Yes.
they like both sides are spamming us with headlines, with informations, with statements, because one side wants to win the communication war. Obviously, Trump has to maintain the market afloat with a fleet afloat. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Fleet, yeah.
But he wants to keep, a fleet. He wants to keep the market afloat. Otherwise,
Oh, sorry, afloat. Sorry, I
obviously,
thought you were talking about the naval fleet. Yeah, no, he wants to keep the market afloat. Sorry, I'm leading you down the wrong path.
Good. So yeah, Trump wants to keep the market at a certain price. At least he doesn't want them to go under a certain price. And Iran is doing the opposite, because they know that it's hurting the economy, the US economy, when they push the prices down, and they know that they can pressure also the USA if the oil prices are high. So we'll have something very interesting and quite unique that is. That this communication war on social medias. So yeah, be careful with the lies spreaded.
Luke, want to get your take now. How have you been navigating these relatively treacherous waters over the last week since we spoke to you on the last roundtable?
Yeah, I mean, for myself, I saw the pump that we had on Sunday night going into Monday, and again, news aside, I just didn't really trust it, which is why I took the short, but also being aware that I was probably, at the time that I took the short, it was probably like being a little bit baited into going in a bit early. So that's the reason why, for myself, like I explained this in my channel, that I'm happy to keep this open for a little while, because I do think that we retrace. The geopolitical stuff, I mean, you know me, I consider it all to be just a lot of the time just noise, and just confuses things. So I would rather just trade the technicals as I see them, because the chart's going to tell you everything you need to know most of the time.
Do you think
and
that
I
though?
think
And
with
that's I would love to pull on that thread a little bit. Do you think that the chart tells you everything? And do you think that charts lead the news? Because this is something that I've kind of gone back and forth a little bit about in my career. I'm curious to know what your take is. Are you muted, Luke?
He's
Can
gone.
you hear me?
Oh, we can hear you now.
What? Ah,
We can hear
okay,
you now.
okay. Yeah, for majority of the situation, like circumstances, I do believe that the chart can tell you a lot more than I mean, you don't know what news is going to come out, right? So news is an unknown. The chart, you can see it right in front of you, so you can't really like try and trade trying to predict the news. It's just like if you're trying to like if you're expecting news to come out and you're not taking a trade because of that, then that's like it's kind of, yeah, bullshit a lot of the time. So I just think to like like most of the time when I see a chart doing something and I can go towards like the pump that we had on over the weekend on Sunday night, Monday morning, for example, or oil recently before the war even kicked off. Like you were asking me, like, what assets would I be bullish on at the moment? I'm like, oil. I think something's going to kick off soon, just because of the way that things were looking. And this is before there was really even like anything going on. Things about how when the market like does pivot, it's generally going to be after like news leads in a certain way, in a way that like uh when when like the missiles did start launching, that created a pivot and we actually got quite a nice rally off of it. So it's often the inverse of what people expect when news leads the charts. But I think you can read a lot about what's going to happen politically and economically just by seeing what's going on the screen in front of you. Obviously not all the time, but I think like if you're a trader, that's all you can rely on. That's the data that you have in front of you. And the amount of times that it correlates is very surprising once you've been doing this a long time and you're like, okay, yeah, like you think something's going to kick off and it does, and then when something does kick off and you get a reversal because of that. So it goes in like hand in hand. Obviously, like both things can lead and unknowns can lead as much as known factors. But for me, I just prefer to trade the chart. So yeah, going into like what I'm expecting from price action, I'm feeling like this could be a time when we do start to expand a little bit lower again. I think because we had the deviation at the highs of the range, I would be leaning bullish at the moment. I don't think oil is done yet. I think like I wouldn't be surprised at all to see oil going up to like $200 before we see any kind of like top being put in there. I still think this is early days, regardless of whether there's going to be an escalation or a de-escalation. I still feel that like oil prices have higher to go. I still think that equities and Bitcoin have lower to go. So that's just the way that I'm trading things at the moment. But again, I'm more of a slightly lower time frame trader, so it doesn't affect me too much what's going on as long as I'm not caught up when news drops. Then generally it's okay. But yeah, it is a challenging market at the moment for sure, because that uncertainty just gives more like a lack of confidence, because if you're constantly worrying about like what if I get in this trade and then there's some kind of news event and that's going to stop me out before it eventually hits a target, then that's really annoying. Just the way that it makes it a lot more difficult to enter a trade with confidence. But yeah, I kind of remain the same. I don't really follow or pay too much attention to what's going on and what's being tweeted all the time, unless it's something really major. Like boots on the ground, for example, in Iran would be fucking disastrous. Like you can't have a ground war in a mountain range, which would be kind of ridiculous. Like people don't realize what Iran is like. Like it's literally just mountains, mountains, mountains. And if the US is going to try and do that, then it's insane. But yeah, I agree with you. I think if there is going to be an escalation, it's going to be like, right, we're going to hit a target, and then you're going to say, yeah, look, we've hit these targets, but realistically, nothing really much has changed. it's just this constant back and forth, and yeah, it's boring now. Like it's just
I agree.
hearing all of this, hearing about this all the time. It's like, yeah,
I agree.
it's
It is
just-
an unfortunate reality of the markets that we're trading is that they are so impacted by what one man in one position says. And we've actually seen this before. We have seen, like, I don't know, do you guys remember in like 2021, 2022, like Musk was basically moving BTC every day based on what he was tweeting at the time. Like he was saying like, oh, should I buy Bitcoin? And price would send. And then, he'd be like, oh, Tesla doesn't have any plans to add Bitcoin to its books. And then price would drop like, and it was like huge moves as well. And like we've seen that time and time again where there are fundamentals at play that really affect price, and you do need to be aware of them. I want to go to Osbra and get your opinion on what Luke just says. But one point that I do want to make on the fundamental versus technical discussion is that it is curious to me that even when fundamentals are, in my opinion, leading, it is usually within the framework of some kind of technical structure. So we saw recently, we saw obviously all this stuff with Trump. We saw like there was like Jane Street news came out, and it's interesting to see that almost within a very high degree of accuracy, it just caused price of ping pong within a very definable and tradable range. So I do think that fundamentals lead. I think that if price is trading at support and then Trump comes out and says we're gonna we're gonna nuke Iran off the face of the earth, then it doesn't really matter. Support won't hold. It's just gonna nuke down towards your arbitrarily drawn line. But yeah, I think that it's a balance. I want to go to Osborne now because you said you disagree with what Luke said, and I want to pull on that thread.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree, but I respect. That's important to say.
You hate Luke. It's confirmed. You guys are beefing. Go on.
No, and we're probably
you,
going to
bruh.
meet next month in Tokyo, so that's gonna be fun. That's gonna be really
Where's
fun.
my invitation? What's going on here?
Sorry, I didn't hear that you plan to go to Asia anytime soon.
Okay, it's all right. I understand. You guys, cool kids meeting up. It's fine. But please continue. So the fundamentals versus technicals. You said you disagree with Luke's
Yeah.
take.
I disagree when people say everything is on the chart and that you can predict what's going to happen thanks to the chart. Like I think that would be way too easy if it was working like this. Also, we had multiple instances showing a support or resistance being absolutely obliterated because of of news dropping. We have also a lot of manipulation around economic data, and it's very difficult to know how everything is going to play out just thanks to the chart. And also remember that TradingView, for example, is a retail tool, and the candle are displaying what people are doing, right? It's not showing what people are going to do. You just you take a blank piece of paper and just you write on it. So the drawing is just what you did. It's something that you did, and the candles are the same. The one candle is just a representative of what people have been doing on the market. It's not an indication of what's going to happen in the future. And often the people are reacting to news. They're not trying to predict. And this is why we have such a violent movement when we have headlines. Lately, I do agree that it's quite some noise because, as you said at the very beginning of the stream, the market is starting to ignore what Trump is saying more and more because it's just too much. So at some point, market just shrugging it off. But yeah, to me, it would make trading way too easy if everything was written off the chart in advance. Especially in times like this, I think it's very difficult to know what will happen in the next 3 days, in a week, in a month, and you would be extremely bold to say that thanks to lines written on the chart. And just to finish on my point of view, I also do believe that technical analysis is quite subjective. I can find the support absolutely wherever I want on a chart. I can just switch between 1,000 timeframes and say this is a support, this is a resistance, this is a support, this is a resistance. Everything can be contradictory. So I do believe it's subjective, and we can, like, I don't know, there are millions of traders, so probably millions of different point of views, so probably millions of different predictions. So I don't believe the charts are telling what's going to happen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But
I
that
think
is
understand.
an
I'll just
interesting topic.
can I
Sorry, go in.
as this is like the little debate between the two. I think like the balance, like to find balance with that. I think I think naturally, like trading is a form, like to be a trader, you are basically seeing patterns, right? It's pattern recognition. And I think a lot of the time, depending on your own personality and the way that you view the markets, you create a narrative and a bias for yourself that then you can look back on as evidence. So when you're seeing, for myself, like I recognize patterns where I see something that's forming in a chart and then something starts to happen because I am a technical trader first and foremost, and I consider most news to be noise, then I'm not remembering or recognizing the times in which news leads the market. I'm just recognizing the times in which the market is forming something and then news starts to happen. On the inverse, so like Osbra, like very interested in like the macro and the news and what's going on in like in the world. The picture's going to be a little bit different depending on how you view things. Like, so I guess the picture for you, Osbra, is more like you see that there's an escalation within news, or you see these geopolitical events happening, and then you see the chart doing something that corresponds to that. So it's very much, and this is like the amazing thing about trading, is just the way that you can um view, like, because it is all pattern recognition, but you create those own recognitions in your own mind, and it's your own interpretation of that. And that's the same with trading. Like, everyone has the same, like, different interpretations of technical analysis, but it can often lead to the same results, because there's always going to be a trade going on and stuff. So I think it's completely balanced. There is like, there's no black and white, there's no right or wrong. It's just like how you view things from a personal
Oh, yeah.
perspective.
I
Yeah.
completely agree. That's why I said I disagree, but I do respect because it's not. I don't believe it's bullshit. Because in some instances,
Yeah.
as you said, yeah, it will work. We had also. I said we had instances where like levels got obliterated because the news dropped, but we also had times where, for example, the market was finding a support just before bullish news happened, and vice versa. So that's also true.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think though, depending on your trading strategy, and I think we all know that you're trading very low time frame. For example, compared to me, my last best trade in Chroma has been a trade that lasted 10 days. And I'm not sure you hold for such a long amount of time. I think you trade much lower time frames, and in these cases, yeah, like the headlines are quite noise. But if you trade large time frames, like high time frames, I do believe though that you should rely more on the fundamentals, on the macro, because it's often leading long-term trends. So yeah, we
Yeah.
can like put an
100%,
end
yeah.
on this topic unless someone else wants to say something. But we can say it just depends on the individuals, on your trading strategy, how you trade, the time frame, etc. And as you said, there is a balance. So this is why we can disagree but respect each other.
Show me the chart and I'll tell you the news. I remember the first time I realized that wasn't the full truth was when this is some old lore. Does anyone remember in 2022 when the founder of Sushi Swap, a rumor came out that he shagged a horse. That's not a joke, by the way. I'm not trying to get laughs. A rumor came out that he shagged a horse and Sushi nuked. The chart nuked. Like it dropped like 15% in like 1 minute candle. And that was the day that I realized that crypto is not a serious industry. Yeah, I had a horse PN. Yeah, that's a good memory, Victor. I had a show me the chart. I had a horse PNG on the chart. But anyway, yeah, that was the day that I realized that crypto is not a serious industry, and trying to account for all price movements in a logical manner was was a fruitless exercise. But I digress. That's a topic for another day, perhaps. Purdue, want to get your take now. Now, the choice is yours. I feel like we've discussed the macro situation probably to death, so I'm happy to move on if you are. And with that in mind, I would love to get your take on the altcoins that you're watching going into this week as we kind of enter this second week of April. I know that some of the coins that I've seen around X, there's a little bit maybe of an AI resurgence. I've seen people talk about Near Protocol. Obviously, people are still talking about Tau. Everyone is still talking about hype. Of course, it feels like everywhere I go, people want to know where I'm buying hype. What's the plan for hype? People also a little bit bullish on render, perhaps, which is good news for me. Lots of interest in Fartcoin again, which I'd love to get your take on, because Fartcoin, as we all know, last year was a bit of a barometer for risk on in the altcoin market. So there's a few different questions there, but the crux of it is I'd love to get your take on the altcoin market as we enter this second week of April.
Yes. Thanks for that question. I knew it was coming. No, I think regarding all the macro, I'm not really keeping an eye on it because I get so tired of it at the moment. Regarding all the shit that's happening in the Middle East and with Iran and Trump ranting all the time, I think the charts are holding pretty well. I'd love to see still like a reclaim of 70K, but we're like consolidating below it since yesterday. And I think because Europe stocks market was closed yesterday, we have to treat today kind of as a Monday, so it's quite rotational today. I'm seeing really good strength in Lighter, which is holding really well above $1. It's also closed the weekly above $1.
Can you share a
Also,
chart?
what you meant, yeah, I can't. I don't have an extra
Ah,
screen at the moment.
no worries, no worries.
So yeah, what we were discussing last week during the roundtable, that the Tau narrative felt really forced, but I've been trying the subnets, and it's actually pretty insane what's happening there, and all the subnets are holding really strong, and there's great money to be made in there. So I think Tau will reprice eventually as well. It's actually one of the few narratives that is around at the moment. So I think, yeah, like we discussed, it feels forced, but still it's one of the better ones to pick. So yeah, the money has to flow somewhere. So I think even though it feels a bit forced, it's one of the better coins to long at the moment. It's also holding that higher time frame support level that's at $310. We're currently at 313. So I think, yeah, Tau is a really good one. Yesterday we longed Morpho. As you know, you also have been bullish on Morpho with the Apollo, with the big Apollo strategic investment. So that also means they're getting involved into Morpho and the project itself. It's one of the bigger DeFi projects from where Coinbase also invested in, and is working closely with the Morpho team. So especially with the Drift protocol exploit that we had, I see money flowing back to other DeFi projects, and I think Morpho is one of the better ones, because basically we had Aave, that is a complete mess at the moment. Founders are leaving, all the developers and the big guys in there are leaving, so they don't want to touch Aave anymore because it's a complete mess behind the scenes. They didn't want to touch Drift anymore, so you have a few baskets of money that are flowing back to other DeFi projects. And I think Morpho is going to be the chosen one for this quarter. Can't hear you, boss.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I said I was just saying the Morpho chart looks pretty good. That's all I said.
Yeah.
I haven't actually traded this thing in a while. I remember longing based on something I think that you and was it maybe Phobia was talking about it back in like
Yeah.
early
We did
February,
a
and then that
write-up about
Apollo news came out, which I think was right around this low down here. But yeah, it's nice. It's a far more attractive buying proposition to me here now that it's pulled back a little bit from this high rather than trying to top last here and hoping for another leg up. I would love to see a little bit of consolidation at this level, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe one last drop, and then you look to get involved around 1.4, 1.35. But yeah, looks good. Chart looks good. One of the few alts, and I'm sure you're aware of this, but one of the few alts that like from 10th of October, if you look at that wick, it actually like it has appreciated in price and also looks just quite good structurally from that 10th of October wick. So many alts are trading. So many alts, like we have this 10th of October wick and they're like trading down here and people are like, should I buy them now? And I'm like, they look terrible. Did Purdue drop off? Is my internet off? Oh, Purdue just dropped. Okay, that's fine. No worries of that. He rugged. But that's completely fine. Open question to the panel. I'm curious to know what alts are on your watch list as we enter this second week of April. I know Victor and Luke aren't necessarily big altcoin guys. Osborne, maybe there's something that you're watching?
It's gonna be boring because it's always the same. But I'm watching Sol as it's approaching very interesting level in my opinion. Let me share my screen once again,
Please do.
so
Hold
everyone
on.
can see what I'm talking about. All right, here. I'm just switching to Sol charts. Wasn't if right here. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I wanted to discuss
And
one more thing, like
yeah, go ahead.
for a minute. Yeah,
You're
there's one thing I wanted to share with all the members is that hype. Am I lagging or not? No.
you're good now. You're good. You were.
No. Okay, perfect. What I wanted to say to the members is that Hyperliquid has a really big unlock today, like the big team unlock. So I wouldn't touch that one for like the next few days because it's bleeding a lot, and I think the team unlocks are super huge. They have basically free tokens. So I think that's gonna cause a lot of sell pressure. So be really careful if you think, okay, hype is currently very cheap. I think it's trading at $36 at the moment. So really be careful and just wait, let PA develop on that one and just ignore it for the next few days until the sell pressure ends and we go from there.
Okay, nice. That's good to know. Yeah, yay for BitBase hype short. Exactly. Yeah. Sorry, go on, Osbury. You're talking about Sol.
Yeah, but Sol, as you can see here for now, it's trying to hold the value area low from this volume profile. However, we rejected from the point of control here, from the supply zone that we had here as well. So technically, it's looking good, and we're approaching the support level that I'm looking at 76. I think we are in a clean range. It's been respected here, the high also here, this high. We had the deviation happening here, then the bearish retest here. So it would make sense to me to take this low right here, retest the range low, and then get involved in a long. And I think that would be correlated with BTC potentially retesting 67, somewhere between 65.5 and 67. So yeah, Sol is quite interesting. I was gonna name Hype, but that's great that Purdy said something before. Obviously, if there is an unlock, you want to stay away, but I do think Hype is also approaching an interesting level. Let me see if it's this chart. Yeah, I think it's this one. Yeah, this level right here. I don't know if it's going to go that low, but I do like the demand zone that we have here, aligned with the fib levels that we have here in red. We had a clean breakout structure. So yeah, I could see hype going down towards like 31, 32, and then going back up again and resume its uptrend, because here we had a nice low being formed, and since then we have a very clean structure with a higher high and higher lows. So I would like to see a continuation. So I would say alongside BTC, Sol and Hype are very interesting and offering clean and easy setups to play.
Okay, interesting. Good to know. I presume Victor and Luke, nothing crazy in terms of altcoins on your watch list at the moment.
And
I'd love to hear
I have
Vic speak.
Why? Why? Yeah, I mean, I always say that in uncertain market conditions, and alts are not the best thing to buy because, of course, being higher beta assets, they respond even stronger to headlines. So it becomes even a bigger gamble. And I talked about how difficult it is to trade BTC because of the headlines. And then inherently, trading altcoins would be even more difficult because of that. So I'm staying away from altcoins even more now than usual because of that. And I think I say this every week. I'm waiting for BTC to bottom sometime this year so that I can load at some of my bags with altcoins. I'm thinking like 25% of my portfolio will be altcoins and the rest 75% BTC. And it's always the same ones that I'm waiting to buy. It's BNB, Sol, Hype, and ETH. So nothing new from my side. Just that I find it even more difficult now to trade altcoins than usual because of the headlines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
similar for me as well. I think I'm someone that likes to trade altcoins when there's momentum behind them. I'm just scanning across a few of the charts now, and I'm really torn between, yeah, like some of the charts are looking fairly decent from a technical perspective, but I'm also more bearish for now still on the macro. So I think I would rather give this more time for the market to bottom, which is what Vic is looking at, or B, wait for a little bit of momentum to pick up into the market and for things to settle. Because when there is momentum, like I like when I do start to see that, like I go pretty heavy into alts and I'll become like Purdue, like I'll be like looking for everything. Like I'll suddenly be like, yeah, I fucking love altcoins again. But
That's what
unless we
Purdue
have
does say.
momentum, I just yeah. Unless we have momentum,
Sounds like me.
I just don't. Yeah, I don't so much see the point in it. I think it's just a lot of effort for the risk is just too much, and it is a little bit of a gamble at this stage. So waiting for lower or waiting for momentum, one of those two things has to happen for me to get back involved with them again.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. To be honest, I'm kind of the same. Like we were just chatting in crypto chat over the weekend. I shared a screenshot of like November 2024. If anyone remembers that mini alt season we got for like 5 or 6 weeks back then, and everyone was going risk on, everyone was running up their portfolios. And like I had a Teal Street screenshot from back then. I had like like 25 positions open or something like that. And it's like now, man, if I have one
Yeah.
position open, I'm already doing all right. And I just think
Yeah,
that's indicative of market conditions and just not wanting to be the guy who's because it's like with altcoins and it's something we spoke about earlier in the call. You can't really short a lot of these altcoins that are already down like 95% because there's just a huge amount of tail risk, right? Because like we've seen so many coins recently, random low cap nonsense Ponzi schemes have just pumped 2x out of nowhere. Like Pippin is the first one that comes to mind. It's like down 94% and it just pumped 2x randomly like 4 or 5 days ago before retracing the entire move. But so it's really hard to actually, if you're shorting those, like you're taking a lot of risk on board just to capture maybe another 10-20% to the downside. Whereas like longing them is also equally, preposterous in a lot of senses because you're longing into this multi-month downtrend. You're effectively fading a huge amount of momentum and hoping that this finally will be the bottom, which not usually trades that I recommend taking if you value your sanity as well as financial capital. Final topic for today's roundtable, and I just want to quickly touch on this. Maybe Osber is someone who can shed some light on, I guess, the U.S. economy going into Q2. And this is something that we spoke about a lot last year. It's kind of been pushed to the background a little bit in light of everything that's happened since then. Because I remember like one of the big talking points in Q3, Q4 last year was, it was going to be Jerome Powell out. We were going to get, someone we're going to get a new Fed chair who's going to be lowering rates, and the markets were going to go turbo mode, and we were going to get a green year and BTC, and these things don't look so likely now. In fact, it seems actually that interest rates are potentially going to go up, and the rate cuts that we've been hoping for are kind of maybe not going to come. We've seen the federal government workforce is shrinking at a historic pace. Lost 18,000 jobs in March, has lost 350,000 jobs since the start of 2025. Current lowest levels since 1966. So lowest levels in over half a century. And yeah, we're seeing like a lot of kind of, I don't know, recession indicators or prelude to a recession indicators. Obviously, oil surging. We saw precious metals surge. What's your take on all this? Because this is something that we spoke about a lot last year, haven't spoken about it so much this year. Have your opinions changed, and is this something we need to be watching?
Yes, I think it's something you need to be watching because earlier today I said the market could get a reality check in the chin anytime soon, and I think the reality check could come from the data that we're going to get in the next few days. We have the PCE on Thursday, and then we will have the CPI on Friday. If you're looking at CPI predictions, the forecast is what did you say, Purdy? Sorry.
Big week ahead for
Yeah, big week
CPI
ahead.
data.
Yeah. We're waiting, waiting for the Trump statement regarding Iran, and then we have the major data coming at the end of the week. And if you look at CPI predictions, we're expecting the year-over-year inflation to go up from 2.4 to 3.4, because last month we had the data, but it didn't reflect the price increase of oil. And this month we will have the price increase of oil reflected on the CPI. And I think the market will realize if like imagine we surge 1% on the CPI, that would be huge. And I think this will be a reminder for the market that the situation is really bad. Obviously because of the war, but also on the economy, because people will realize they will have to pay the price of what is happening right now. So I don't know. The uncertainty for me is around the Fed, like what they're going to do during next FOMC. During the last meeting, a few members were advocating for rate hikes. Now, if inflation surge, there are like only two options. Powell will say, "Yeah, it's temporary because of oil prices increasing because of the war. So we just like stay flat and we just wait to see how things evolve. Blah blah blah. With data driven. Blah blah blah." Or then they're going to just hike the rates and say we have to adapt to the data, as he often said, and then a hike would make sense, but that would be a terrible signal sent to the market. And the next thing that is also quite confusing is that obviously probably 90% of people didn't notice, but JD Vance or Trump said that no, it was Hassett actually, Kevin Hassett, that was a candidate for the Fed's chairman position, said that Kevin Walsh is going to cut rates as soon as he takes over the office. That's quite surprising, knowing that Kevin Walsh is hawkish, is quite a hawk in favor of a strong dollar. Maybe they're trying, yeah, Kevin Walsh. Maybe they're trying to reassure the market, saying, "Don't worry, guys. We know inflation is going to increase, but don't expect any rate cuts, any rate hikes. Don't worry, things are not going to be bad." Maybe they're just trying to anticipate a bit of a fright for the markets with the data that is coming out in 2-3 days. Yeah, that's the uncertainty for me, what the Fed is going to do. But I do believe if inflation really comes out at 3.4, Friday could be red, could be really red.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'm kind of thinking the same things. I remember talking to you about it last year and saying that one of the avenues we were maybe thinking about was, yeah, new Fed chair comes in, starts slashing rates, and then risk on assets explode, and we kind of get this final blow off type of the top of the cycle. I don't think that that's going to happen now. I think that the top has actually already occurred this cycle, and I think that we see lower prices into the end of the year. And as mentioned several times before, I'm looking at, kind of the low 40s or even high 30s to get involved with BTC, with the expectation that we're going to bounce pretty hard next year and going to have a green year in 2027. Crypto bros watching Trump talking shit and bullying their report. Yeah, exactly. Low CPI would be bullish indeed, but anything meeting forecast or above would be ouch. Yeah, exactly. What's your take on CPI, Purdue?
I don't have a hot take on that, to be honest, but usually if I just watch the TA, usually when we de-risk into CPI data, usually the CPI data is on Wednesday, so maybe this time is different because it's on Friday this time. But usually when we slow bleed into CPI data, no matter the data actually, it usually gets sold off before the CPI event happens, and then we see like short hedges unwind on the CPI data, and then the next days after are usually telling which direction we go. Like, is it a fade on Thursday? How do stocks respond? But now because it's on Friday for the first time ever, for the first time I'm seeing it, I don't actually know how it's going to evolve into the weekend.
Yeah, I'm waiting with bated breath, to be honest. I'm not sure
Kind
what
of the
we're gonna
same with the
get.
FOMC.
Yeah,
Like when you pump
yeah,
into CPI into FOMC, you see a big sell-off during the FOMC, or when you see slow bleeding, yeah, it's the vice versa you have on the
that's
nodes.
definitely the way that they've been playing out, and that's something actually we spoke about on the last FOMC. Is that actually seeing price appreciation into the event is maybe not the most bullish thing, at least as the last 4 or 5
Yeah.
have gone. But yeah, I mean, it kind of ties back to the first point that we made. There are fundamental elements at play that make it quite difficult for technical traders. And I think one of the more interesting parts of this discussion was the debate between, Luke saying, focus more on the technicals and everything else follows, and Osber saying maybe, it's more of a fundamental based analysis that gives you an edge in these conditions. But, I think personally, as I said, I kind of fall somewhere in the middle there. And I think that it's, even if you are a technical trader, there are times where fundamentals take the lead and technicals need to take a back seat. But even when fundamentals are dominating, it is funny to see how technical levels are respected